Good evening and welcome to all of you. Today, our SFE team, we are hosting a webinar on climate change and its impact on biodiversity or rural livelihood. What exactly, how this global warming is affecting ourselves, or you can say the individuals, the group, the species, and especially we are focusing on the rural side of the people, how they are getting affected by it, and what are the measures, the precautions we can take for them so that they can have a sustainable development, a sustainable livelihood. So, in today's webinar, we have eminent guest. We have our chairperson, Dr. S. Narayan. We have Dr. A.K. Pandya IAS. We have Dr. Samantha, and also we have Deva Bhatt ma'am. So, initially, I would request our chairperson to enlighten us with the topic. So,
We have, okay, thank you, Dr. Sarmishta.
welcome, sir.
This Society for Empowerment is always organizing webinar, national and international webinar on current issues. And today we have two guests who are coming in our program for the first time. One is Dr. Samantha. I think he is from Chanakya Law University. Am I right? No. Acha, acha.
I'm from Chandragupta Institute of Management, Patna.
Okay. Chandragupta Institute of Management.
Yeah, we are neighbor
And
of Chanakya Law University.
okay. No, long back I had been to Chandragupta Maurya Institute. So, and the other is Dr. Viva Bhatt. She is a school teacher in Srinagar. And our patron, our guide is Dr. A.K. Pandey, who is a strong pillar of this Society for Empowerment, and he is equally academician and a former bureaucrat also. So today's theme for discussion is climate change and impact on rural population, rural livelihood. Because what we are seeing today is that a good number of changes are visible because of climate change, and such changes are due to different happenings throughout the globe. Gandhi ji has said that we should use nature's gift as much economically as much it is required. We must not waste it, whether it is a water or sun or rain or tree or forest. This he said in one context. One of our former speaker, participant of this webinar, his grandson, Dr. Arun Gandhi, was narrating that he wanted to change his pencil, which has become small, and while returning from school, he threw that pencil. And he asked Gandhiji to give him a new pencil. But Gandhiji asked him that where is your old pencil? You please show me your pencil, that how much it is yet to be used. Then I can provide you new one. First bring your old pencil. We went to the place where he has thrown that pencil, and then later on he uh, restored his pencil and showed it to Gandhiji. And Gandhiji said it, told him that how much uh, uh, trees are involved in making a pencil. And if everybody waste pencil like that, then what we will hand over to our future generation? The whole natural product that we are wasting, that we must not do. So this global change is has caused the a great it has made a dent on our environment because we are using whatsoever nature has given to us without considering that what we are going to leave for our future generation, what we will hand over to our future generation. So we must be very careful. This is one lesson which we can, which we have learned from Gandhiji, and which we can even today, which we can adopt in our day-to-day life. That we must not waste the water, we must not waste the sun and sunlight, and we must not waste the other natural, other product which has been provided to us by nature, and we should be very careful in using such things. So, considering this Gandhi's uh, ideal use of the nature, what we find today that the climate change has occurred and each country of the globe is affected, badly affected by this climate change because the heat is also on rise. Similarly, the cold is there and rain is also there. You find that in some country without rainy season there is a flood. In some other place you find that it is not summer, but the temperature has gone too much. So these needs our considerations and these have impact on our life. Not only on our life, but on the rural livelihood. Means the in rural area, in rural India or globally, whosoever are living in rural region, their earning, their employment is equally affected by mm, uh, this change, by change of global change of climate, and that has impacted our livelihood in rural India also. Because if it is too hot, they cannot earn. In rural area, or in, they cannot work. If there is a flood, their earning is affected. They cannot earn. If there is too cold, they are unable to work. So this climate change has caused a lot of problem in earning in rural area that needs to be considered. And this is the main subject or main theme of our today discussion. How we can tackle it, how we can avoid it, how wisely we can use the global climate change so that its impact on rural livelihood can be minimized. It can be minimized. Now we have Dr. Pandav has also Padma Shri Dr. Pandav has joined us. I welcome him, and he is one of the great uh, physician, and he is also physician of president. He is known as iodine man. He has made uh, use of iodine, how to uh, make it more useful for good health of the people living across the country, living in globe. So, Dr. Pandav, you are most welcome, and you have come to our show after a long time. So, we welcome you. And the theme
धन्यवाद
we were
धन्यवाद
just talking about the theme. So, this is all about it. Now, the uh, Dr. Sarmista will ask or request all the speakers one by one, and we start the webinar.
Yes, sir. Welcome, sir. Dr. Pandav, sir. Welcome to see you back once again, sir. Namaste, sir. Sir, can I request you to say a few words related to the climate change and impact on rural livelihood, sir?
Yeah. Dhanyawad, Shukriya. I'm just back from a meeting of the Delhi Medical
Okay.
Association.
Yes, sir.
Uh, they have an annual meeting, and today I was requested to speak on the topic of integrated system of medicine. The government policy on integrated system of medicine is a disaster. So I'm just coming out of that session. It was a full day session.
Yes, sir.
Uh, Professor
So you had,
Narayan, Dr. A.K. Pandey, Vivaji, Debabrata, Debabrata, sorry, and our anchor Sharmishta, aap sabko namaskar. Now today, any events we are discussing come under the umbrella of SDG, Social Development Goals. And the 17 goals, as all of you know, and climate change is one of them. I admire Professor Narayan for coming out with excellent topics. Sir, I've been associated with you, I think, since last 3 years. 3 साल हो गए. हाँ शर्मिष्ठा,
yes,
Yes,
sir.
3 years. The choice of topics you suggest are very challenging. तो आपको मैं धन्यवाद देता हूँ, आपका अभिनंदन करता हूँ, प्रोफेसर नारायण.
धन्यवाद
Now,
धन्यवाद.
there are three questions I will address. First is what is climate change? Second is how climate change is affecting the rural households. And third is suggestions. I not only raise the problems, but I also, in my own humble way, whatever experience I've gained, whatever wisdom I gained, I'm also going to give suggestions. Now, climate change refers to the long term changes in the Earth's climate. It refers to long term changes in the Earth's climate. This includes changes in the temperature. We are experiencing that in Delhi. We had a very short winter, and in fact, the warm days have already started last week. Warm days have already started. It refers to the rainfall pattern and extreme weather events. That's climate change. It is primarily driven by human activities. Mahatma Gandhi said that for everybody's need, it's available, but not for everybody's greed. So we must introspect as human beings the activities that we carry. Burning of fossil fuels, deforestation, and cutting of the trees and extending the agricultural land to feed the growing population is one of the important causes of climate change. As you know, today India has surpassed China in population. India's population is 1.42 billion. They have surpassed China. There is also the other healthy side that today 65% of the population is in the age group of 18 to 35 years. 65. So it's young India. Now, the accumulation of greenhouse gases such as carbon dioxide and methane in the Earth's atmosphere traps that heat and leads to a warming effect known as the greenhouse effect. This warming effect is causing the Earth's temperature to increase at an unprecedented rate, leading to melting of glaciers, rising sea levels, and more frequent and severe weather events. Climate change also has far reaching impacts on human societies, including threats to agricultural security, food security, and in turn, nutrition security. It also bridges the inequalities that affect the human beings. Most important, it already affects the vulnerable population, low income communities, and people living in coastal areas. So, those who are downtrodden are increasingly becoming more downtrodden, and the gap is widening. So, addressing climate change requires urgent and most important collective action, including reducing greenhouse gas emission, transitioning to renewable energy sources, and adapting the change already underway. Climate change is a major global issue, and that affects many aspects of our lives, including rural livelihoods. Over a period of time, because of migration, the rural population ratio has become to 70 to 30. So, rural households are dependent on natural resources and agriculture, which are heavily impacted by climate change. That's part number one, trying to understand what is climate change. I'm coming to part two of my sharing of my thoughts, climate change and its effects on rural livelihoods. When I entered the screen today, I heard the last sentences of Professor Narayan and effect on the rural household. Changes in temperature and rainfall patterns. Change is causing shifts in temperature and rainfall patterns, leading to more extreme weather conditions such as droughts, floods, storms, hurricanes. Changes can damage the crops and reduce the yield, affecting the rural livelihoods that depend on agriculture. Decline in natural resources is also leading to depletion of natural resources such as water and soil, which are very crucial for agriculture and rural livelihoods. This can lead to reduced productivity and income for rural communities. They primarily depend on the produce they yield on the soil, which is dependent on the natural rainfall. The other thing is loss of biodiversity. It is leading to loss of biodiversity, which can have significant effects on rural households. Migration. Climate change is also accelerating the migration as people move in search of better living conditions. This can have significant impact on rural communities as people live and take their skills and knowledge with them to the urban areas. Increased food prices. Since there is a limited food production, there is a more demand. So law of economics says there will be increase in food prices. And this can lead into disruption of food production and supply, leading to increased food prices that can have significant impact on rural communities who may not have the resources to afford these higher prices. This afternoon, I spent my time with Chandra Vikas. He was saying that in England, the rationing of farm produce has already started. You can get only 2 tomatoes and 2 onions in superstores. That has already started. In order to mitigate the impacts of climate change on rural households, it is important to take action to reduce greenhouse gases and to adapt the changing climate. This can include measures such as promoting sustainable agricultural practices, investing in water and soil conservation. Very, very important. I am proud to share with you that I am associated with One Rai. This was founded by late Mr. Mohan Daria, who was the Deputy Chairman of the Planning Commission. Conservation of water is very, very critical and vital. It should not get lost into the rivers and through flooding to the sea. So local conservation of water is very, very vital. These are some of the important practices that One Rai is demonstrating and spreading the word to the rest of India. Now, number three part of my presentation, after sharing with you what is climate change, what are the effects on rural households, I'm going to give you a few suggestions. There are many positive measures that can be taken to address climate change and support rural livelihoods. Here are some of the suggestions. Promote sustainable agriculture. Encourage the farmers to adopt sustainable farming practices that reduce the greenhouse gas emission, such as conservation, tillage, crop rotation, crop pattern, and these practices also improve the soil of the health, which can increase yields and support rural livelihoods. I can speak of Maharashtra, the state which I come from. The tragedies over a period of time, we are showing the change in pattern. People are going more sugarcane and replacing the traditional millets that are popular and famous. This is also the International Year of the Millets, 2023. And increasing area of sugarcane is coming under use. Sugarcane not only takes a lot of water, but also replaces the crop pattern. So the poor farmers are getting poorer because of this particular practice. Renewable energy. Encourage the adoption of renewable energy sources like solar, wind, and hydro power in rural areas. This can create jobs and provide an additional source of income for farmers and rural communities. So there has to be more focus on renewable energy. Support reforestation, very, very important. Professor Narayan, I remember in Chipko movement, Sundarlan Bahuguna, he started the Chipko movement in Uttarakhand Chipko movement, that the women would put their arms around the trees when people came to cut the trees. So this there was some disturbance in the system. Can you
Yes,
hear
sir.
me, please?
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
yeah.
Yes.
This is also due to the climate change.
Yes, sir. It can be, sir.
This is called Dr. Pandav's room's climate change.
Yes, yes,
Now,
very right.
I remember the Chipko movement. Sundarlal Bahuguna was the pioneer in this. And I remember Dr. Ramalinga Swami that in a particular village there was a patch of green trees. You know why? He asked a question in the general meeting. The answer, can you guess, Sharmista? In a village there was one area which was a patch of green trees. Do you know
Yes,
why it
sir.
was? Why was it there?
No, sir. So you can give the answer, sir.
It was because women are using that area for their washroom activities. That's why they used to go for toilet. That patch was green. Very interesting.
Yes.
We also have to have climate resilient infrastructure. And this is very important in terms of irrigation systems that we are having. Very, very important. In fact, sir, Professor Narayan, I just came from a lecture in Nalanda University. The good thing about the past is we have to relive it because we seem to have forgotten. We are going to re-adopt the same practices they had. In Nalanda and Takshila, they had, in Mohenjo-daro, they had granaries for the people. They had drained coverage, their drains were covered, and they were common washrooms to preserve water. I spent some time on the islands in Indonesia in 1990s. I used to take a bath with 1 liter of bottle. And here we waste so much of water in taking shower. We should move uh, to bucket and mugs. These are some of the activities that are going to contribute a lot to water conservation. And finally, we should have access to climate information and early warning system. That's where technology is important. Unfortunately, we recently experienced an earthquake in Turkey and Syria. So we really are going through a tremendous transition in every aspect. There is a weather transition, there is a climate transition, there is a forest transition, there is a population transition, there is a health transition. So we are seem to be caught into the midst of this transition. And here one thing is very important. We have to be team members. We have to take a collective action at all levels, at rural level, semi-urban level, अर्बन लेवल्स हम सबको इकट्ठा एक्शन लेना पड़ेगा. महात्मा गांधी का सपना था ग्राम स्वराज. प्रोफेसर नारायण, we are back to the same thing what Bapuji had said, gram swaraj. So thank you so much for this opportunity to express my thoughts. In summary, I told you what is climate change, what is the impact on rural households, and some of the suggestions I have. Most important, teamwork. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you,
my.
sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank
It
you.
was a lovely
Thank
talk,
you very
sir.
much.
Knowing the views of you, and definitely you have put your inputs, what is going on presently all over the world. Thank you so much, sir. Can I request Dr. A.K. Pandey, sir, to just enlighten us with the topic, sir?
Thank you. Thank you,
Welcome, sir.
Dr. Shah. Uh, this subject is seems quite new, but much discussion has taken place all over the world about the uh, changes, climate changes, global warming, other things. But focusing on the rural household is the new thing. And for that, let us try to understand what does it mean by rural and urban. In urban areas, we see good buildings, arranged water supply, cities, and in the rural area, there are pathways and parks and some kacha houses. But definitely, that rural area is necessary for whole population because it feeds all the human being. What we call that the difference between rural and urban. I have just put some thought on this that our civilization has started in forests and near water sources, means rivers. But as time passed on, people found out that the food gathering, if we go to Indian history, means traditional words, Kandamul Phal, that was main feed. That shifted to crops. Slowly it shifted. People found that it is more productive to farm certain things and much population can be supported. So there was pressure on forests, there was pressure on rivers. Near that people went. And the third thing is that villages started developing. Villages means people who were farming that. But on the other side, there was protection was needed. Protection was needed because there were people, you can say plunderers, who always attacked these villages. And so there was one royal king area, you can say ruler or king whatsoever, and that area got developed into urban. So what I call is rural area means production based, and urban area I call protection based. Later on, this protection got added by somebody who was a magician or astrologer or whatsoever. How it came into being, this astrologer or magician, it was because he suggested that when to sow the crops and when the crops will be ready to harvest different crops by very intricate calculation of every day and moon signs and as the weather changed. So I call it astrologer come consultant. So today the scenario is that the rural area has eaten up much of the forests, and this astrologer has been replaced by a group of consultants on different subjects. They are all advising the farmer what to do, how to test the soil, how to harvest in less cost, all these things. But the basic producer is that farmer, and with the effect that forest area has gone little and little, and that is the one of the reason of global or local climate change. I had got opportunity in last few years to go to Dwarka, and people said, or there is evidence also, that Dwarka when was unserved by the inside water
7 times.
many times, many times. So something where there was land today, it is the sea. Then there is another place, Lothal. Lothal is considered to be old harbor, which is completely inside land, miles and miles inside land. But there are signs, there are findings that ships went to that place in that time. So that is large. Uh, that happened as the geography changed and area changed by something rise into sea level or rise into earth level or whatsoever. So long term effects which we have already faced. In rural areas, today we let us focus that the climate change is one temperature, increase in temperature. An overall increase in temperature can be seen in many areas, which results that summers are bigger, winters are smaller, and maybe the rainy season is still smaller or more arbitrary. Means when it will rain, you don't know. There can be less rain, or there can be floods. So these are the effects on the rural areas of today. Now, what happens when we find temperature increase in temperature at certain areas? Increase in temperature, by increasing temperature, the heat is summer starts earlier. Is it not time today to recalculate that when a particular seed has to be sown and when it will be harvested? Maybe certain crops may not it may not be possible to harvest if these changes are very serious and bigger ones. So the first thing is change in dates. Then there is no solution to floods as such. You have only to adjust that floods will come, like northern Bihar. People know that floods will come. So mostly they are prepared for floods, but they are not as prepared as they should be, because every time many people shift to safer places, but many don't shift, and they don't create infrastructure for this smooth shifting. After all, it is every year. Every year you find floods. Every year you plan relief. But in the start, we never try well prepared solution to the problem. There is one more reason that in floods you get good soil, and therefore the harvesting of crops next time gets affected. So one of the things what I foresee in climate change is readjusting this crop harvesting dates and sowing dates. And experts need to study. Maybe there are certain changes in crop season itself. Certain crops may require a smaller time to harvest according to the season. Certain for certain this go to the winters also. No, these are things I find in rural areas. But if the water scarcity is there, then there can be another effect which is foreseen in that, that the population may shift nearer to rivers. It is the river which feeds even to wells and groundwaters. And as rivers dry up, everything goes not to the estuary, it is dismal. So that is why this climate change, there may not be much solution to drying up the rivers. We have long-term plans, dams, all these things. Still, those are not foolproof because there is always risk and danger from those dams and large schemes. Uh, change in drought and flood is there, and so shifting of population near river is expected as there will be rise in temperature. But what will happen when there is not rise in temperature? At some places on Earth, there may be cooling down as the glaciers say they melt. There may be some areas where there is cooling down, then reverse effect may be there. Here the duty of our urban expert comes. Then it is we will who have to think that how much change in housing pattern is needed. We all know that the housing is to face the weather, cold and heat, all those things. And we believe that some change, some teaching, some training will be required in housing so that the villagers may face the tortures of the changing climate comfortably rather conveniently. Survival is the basic instinct of mankind. So the third is uh, apart from drought and flooding, that is hurricanes and all those things. They are for that we need to develop early warning system. We know in Odisha there was hurricane, there was so we could save so many lives with necessary precaution and shifting of population. So as time goes on, as as the rotation of Earth continues, some people say that even the axis of Earth may be shifting. And when the axis of Earth shifts, the areas, that is very long term effect, of course. But in this discussion, I think it will be worth keeping into the record that even the areas which are very cold may shift to less colder areas or hotter areas. So efforts, human efforts are required or are going on also to control and to manage this global warming. These environmentalists are they always asking that there should be forests, more forests, deforestation should be controlled. Yet the pressure of the population, we have to put some balance between these efforts and other things. So the change is inevitable. Our capacity to face those change, particularly because the urban areas, it is easier, it is organized, it has all the resources, all the knowledge. But we must be ready to translate those things for rural areas also very timely, because the communication also is very slow to percolate down there. So it is duty of we experts who are in urban areas to foresee and make geographical effort. Geographical means each a particular plan may not suit every area. For next 100 years, whatever change we expect, we can have a plan, that is change in cropping pattern, uh, working on crops which take lesser time, then shifting to nearer to river or farther from river. These plans must be prepared as on today. They may be in deferred. Government may not, may be very apathetic, show apathy that these are intellectual exercise. But when the effects come, then it comes out and people start implementing those things. We hope that today's, if this voice can start some similar planning with geography experts, and so we are anthropologists, then our webinar will be successful, and at least it will put into record something that that shows the direction to cope with the global changes in climate and its effect segregated geographically over different areas. Uh, with that small suggestion, I I finish my uh, views. Hope it has been of some mind provoking to all of you, and maybe it has some glimpse of future plan also. Thank you, thanks everybody.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. It was a very good, you have said a lot of good words about the climate change and its effect, impact on rural urban development, especially how you bifurcated them, and definitely its impact all over the world and what the future generation can do about it. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir. I would request Dr. Samantha, can you just say some, on the enlighten us with the topic?
First, I like to thank you all, Professor Naran, A.K. Pandey sir, uh, for this honor and privilege to speak on this forum. Uh, though my previous speakers, they have covered almost all. I have nothing to add new. I have a short presentation. May I show it if I allowed?
Yes, you
Definitely,
can.
sir. We are waiting for it. Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. So is it visible? Is it visible?
Yes. Now,
Yes. Uh, it's gone now. It was visible before. Just
Okay,
one
okay,
minute.
okay. Then I think
Yeah.
I'm using this platform for the very first time. So,
Yes,
uh,
yes. It was visible before you had.
okay,
Yeah, just one more. I'll just add it on screen. Just one.
is it visible now?
Yeah, it's visible.
Okay. So, I'll just touch upon those issues which my previous speakers have covered. I'll just touch some more, add something more into it. Basically, what is climate change? That has been already discussed about. So, it is mainly rising of temperature, and main reason is actually burning fossil fuels. Okay, so there are we have intergovernmental panel for climate change, which says that emission of greenhouse gases from human activities are responsible for this 1.1 degree centigrade of warming since 1850 to 1900. I'll show you the graph because after 1850, the temperature has actually risen in a skyrocket speed. Okay, so the basic objective of this whole discussion is we are not the only people who are discussing it. This is a global discussion, and the basic objective is to how we can control it, how we can keep it under 1.5 degree centigrade increase. Okay, so if it increases, as Pandam sir already have pointed out, that it will impact global warming. It will intensify the water cycle, brings more intense rainfall and flooding, as well as more intense drought in many regions. It will also affect the rainfall patterns of any area, and coastal areas will see continued sea level rise throughout this 21st century. We have already started experiencing all these things. Okay, there are melting of glaciers, changing of the ocean. So all these already have started. Uh, um, so if so, this is the graph actually. So if you see the graph of left side, and this is the temperature, uh, and after 1850 onwards, the rising of temperature is has become a skyrocket speed. Okay, now it has become alarming that we have to keep it below 1.5 degrees centigrade. So the right side panel is the zoom version of that particular 1850 to 2020 part. Okay, so what my observation here is that the basic, all our discussion are actually hovering around it, that how we can keep the temperature down or keep the temperature below 1.5 degree. And this is this all these chart I have taken from IPCC reports. And this is the greenhouse gases emission, which has again started increasing in an exponential rate for last 20 30 years. Okay. Sir already has talked about sustainable development goals. We have sustainable development goals 13, which actually talks about this climate change and its impact, and how we can strengthen the resilience about it. Okay. So now we have net zero target. Net zero target is that how we can keep this increase in temperature below 1.5 degree. And if you see, this is being noted as the greatest challenge ever humankind has ever faced, and it requires complete transformation of how you produce, how you consume, and how you move. And definitely we are not the alone. 70 countries or more, they have come forward to discuss, to take decision that how this can keep under control. So that is what is happening all over the world. Now, why impact on rural livelihood? Pandey sir has a detailed discussion of how we can define rural and what is the impact. Actually, definitely, so rural people are most vulnerable because they depend mostly on natural resources as well as for the livelihood. Uh, uh, they
दो ही बैग
depends
हैं
on
सब बाकी सारे
the
चले गए
natural source of rain and other water sources. So if there is climate change, that will impact these resources. So we have started experiencing frequent drought or frequent uh, uh, flood, as well as cyclones. So that will impact the rural livelihood in a negative manner. Okay, so these things already have talked about. I am just escaping. Now I'm trying to touch upon this particular thing, which I like to put forward, that we this particular area is not in discussion in a greater way. I like to put forward that climate change and gender. So these are very recent studies, the recent research that has identified that the gender dimension of climate change, and it is argued that men and women are impacted disproportionately due to the climate change. Okay, so because it is argued that poor rural women are more vulnerable to the adversities of climate change due to their gender differentiated subordinated position that hinders their access to sufficient material resources and capacity to cope or adapt. So in many cases, they are actually the more vulnerable as well as more impacted through this whole climate change thing, but still not in discussion much. So my hunch is to put forward these particular aspects in our discussion. Here, uh, people already have talked about, because as the climate change is a global issue, so we are a very small entity to talk about this. But here I also try to put forward that there are roles of community level as well as local government institution, at least in terms of preparedness. Sir has already touched upon, Pandit sir has already touched upon that how we can make more resilient, more we can be more risk prepared in terms of any adverse situation. Now this thing, now if I bring to in the context of India, India has the typical monsoon climate, and usually three-fourths of the country's total annual rainfalls actually do experience in monsoon. We have average 300 to 650 millimeter of rainfall in a year, but this is uniformly distributed, because some parts are dry, some parts are heavily wet. And we have experience on an average every year three to four times we get hit by tropical cyclones. And as all of this, India's agriculture, they get hit badly due to this. Okay, so we have already found that a large number of studies pointed out melting of Hindu Kush Himalayan glaciers that affect lives of people not only India but also Nepal and China. And in India, the water resources are going to be affected as monsoon going to be affected. So floods, landslide, droughts, cyclones, that has become more frequent. And it is not only in India, in Nepal and Bangladesh, other neighboring countries also. Okay. So now, what is the loss? The World Meteorological Organization in 2020, they have estimated a loss. They found that on an average in India, the loss is 87 billion US dollar, which is is around 6 lakhs crore rupees due to climate induced extreme weather. So we actually lost 6 lakh crores, is almost one sixth of our total budget outlay, central budget outlay. Okay, so that we lose due to this climate induced extreme weather events such as heat waves, tropical cyclone, floods, drought, etc. Okay, so India has started taking different initiative since 2008. We have adopted this climate resilient plan. So currently, it has targeted that by 2020 30 to the target is about to reach 50% of cumulative electric power, which are non-fossil fuel based energy resources. And after COP 27, India has adopted this long term low emission development strategy, which plans for rapid expansion of green hydrogen production, threefold increase in nuclear capacity, and 20% ethanol blending. That also include reduction of import of petroleum, which is fossil fuel. So that those are in the pipeline. So India is working, but if we say believe in a current UN report that we have been doing this, but we are still far away from our milestones in different aspects. So this is uh, a very brief presentation from my end.
Thank you,
I did not,
Dr. Samanta.
I did not,
Yeah.
yeah, I did not go for any recommendation because from my level, it is I did not found any recommendation to give. Thank you for this opportunity.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was great to listen, especially about the climate change and the gender, impact on the gender and what we understand as zero target. That was really great. It's something new to us. Can I request Viva ma'am?
Ma'am, my net is going to finish, so
Ma'am,
I'm going
ma'am, it's your turn. Yes, ma'am. Can you just,
to
enlighten us with
number.
the topic? Yes, ma'am.
May I?
Yes, sure.
Okay. I will start from सबसे पहले शुभ संध्या नमस्कार विद्वजन शर्मिष्ठा जी ये
Yes, ma'am.
लिंक मुझ तक आप सभी का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद मुझे अपनी आवाज देयर इज सम प्रॉब्लम
Ma'am, you're audible.
आई एम ज्वाइनिंग विद अदर नंबर
You're
मे आई
audible, ma'am.
प्लीज
Yes,
एंड
yes,
प्लीज
your choice. Sure.
थैंक
You can rejoin again. Yes.
मे आई ऑडिबल नाउ
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
द अदर फोन इज नॉट सॉरी फॉर इनकन्वीनियंट जो भी वक्ता मुझसे पहले बोले हैं सभी ने इस विषय को बहुत अच्छे से ग्लोबल लेवल पर बहुत अच्छे से बता दिया है मैं आप सिर्फ उत्तराखंड के बारे में ही बात करूंगी पिछले 2 दशक से वैसे तो पूरी दुनिया के देशों ने ये ग्लोबल वार्मिंग देखी है ऐसी घटनाएं सभी जगह हो रही है जिसमें वर्षा के साथ साथ बहुत से स्थानों पर सूखा पड़ना और या फिर ओलावृष्टि बहुत ज्यादा बारिश होना ये जलवायु परिवर्तन सभी जगह देखने को मिल रहे हैं लेकिन अगर हम बात करें अपने उत्तराखंड की तो उत्तराखंड में 2013 में केदारनाथ की आपदा की घटना जो हुई थी वो इस जलवायु परिवर्तन के कारण ही हुई और यहाँ पर बहुत अधिक जो पर्यटन विकास हुआ है उसके दबाव में हिमालय में लगातार मीथेन गैस कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड या और तापमान का बढ़ना प्लास्टिक कचरे का ज्यादा यूज होना हिमालय में प्रदूषण के फैलने का जो कारण है ये भी जलवायु परिवर्तन के कारण ही हुआ है अभी 2021 में 7 जनवरी 2021 में जो चमोली डिस्ट्रिक्ट में ऋषि गंगा में ग्लेशियर टूटने की घटना हुई, ये भी जलवायु परिवर्तन के कारण था। और उस समय हैरानी की बात यह है कि धूप खिली हुई थी और ग्लेशियर का कुछ हिस्सा टूटा, और जिसके कारण ऋषि गंगा और धौली गंगा में बाढ़ आ गई, और सारा जो वहां पर गंगा पावर प्रोजेक्ट शुरू हुआ था वो सारा का सारा मिट्टी में मिल गया। अनेक जानें जो हैं वो चली गईं, और जो जल विद्युत परियोजना थी तपोवन की, विष्णुगढ़ तपोवन में 520 मेगावाट की, ये भी समाप्त हो गई, और इस टनल में 280 लोगों की मृत्यु हुई। देखा जाए तो ये सब जलवायु परिवर्तन के कारण हुआ, और इसका कारण भी मनुष्य ही है। हमारी जो बहुत अधिक लालसा है अधिक से अधिक प्राप्त करने की, इसके कारण हमने प्रकृति के साथ छेड़छाड़ कर दी है। ऐसा ही अभी जोशीमठ में हुआ, जो जनवरी 2023 में ही हुआ है, जिससे मकान के मकान धंसने शुरू हो गए। और हैरानी की बात यह है कि उस समय भी सूखा पड़ा हुआ था, कोई बारिश नहीं हुई थी, बल्कि 3 महीने से भी अधिक समय से यहाँ पर कोई बारिश नहीं थी। सूखे में ही जोशीमठ का दरकना ये बता रहा है, ये सिद्ध कर रहा है कि कहीं ना कहीं हम लोगों ने प्रकृति से अत्यधिक छेड़छाड़ कर दी है। जोशीमठ में जो मानव निर्मित बड़े-बड़े भवन बन रहे हैं, जिनमें विद्युत परियोजना भी है, और उन्हीं के कारण टनल्स जो बनी हैं, उसमें विस्फोटक सामग्री का प्रयोग, ये ही जिम्मेवार है इस घटना के लिए। और जोशीमठ में 868 घरों को सरकार ने ये बता दिया था कि ये जिन घरों में दरारें आई हैं, इनमें से 180 मकानों को पूर्ण रूप से असुरक्षित घोषित किया। लेकिन अभी कल ही मैं अखबार में पढ़ रही थी कि ये जो घर उन्होंने सुरक्षित बोले हैं, उन घरों में फिर से दरारें आ रही हैं, और वो लोग बहुत चिंतित हैं कि वो इस समय जाएं तो कहाँ जाएं। और इसके अलावा जो जलवायु परिवर्तन का सबसे ज़्यादा खतरा है, वो उसके कारण खतरे क्या क्या है कि जो परिवर्तन में जलवायु में इतना परिवर्तन आ गया है कि जो हमारी वेजिटेशन है, जो हमारे फ्लावर्स हैं, हमारे फ्रूट्स हैं, वो भी अपने समय से पहले आने शुरू हो गई हैं। वो जो हमारे यहाँ उत्तराखंड का एक प्रसिद्ध फूल है, बुरांस का फूल, जो हमेशा अप्रैल-मई में खिलता था, वो अभी दिसंबर में ही खिलना शुरू हो गया, इस जलवायु परिवर्तन के कारण ही। एक यहाँ पर बेरीनुमा फल होता है, जो जिसे काफल कहा जाता है, बड़ा प्रसिद्ध फल है ये यहाँ का। ये भी 3 महीने पहले ही पक गया। और ये कहा जाता है कि जहाँ पर बुरांश हो और जहाँ पर काफल का फल होता है, वहाँ खूब बर्फ गिरती है। लेकिन इस बार उत्तराखंड में 2500 मीटर ऊंचे इलाकों में भी बर्फ नहीं पड़ी। जनवरी-फरवरी में ही पहाड़ों पर आग की घटनाएं हमेशा जलवायु परिवर्तन का एक बहुत बड़ा कारण है। लेकिन ये हमेशा होती थी मई-जून में, और इस बार अभी आजकल ही फरवरी में ही, हालांकि जनवरी में भी हमने कई जगह देखा, जंगलों में आग अपने आप ही लग रही है। और इससे कितने ही वन्य प्राणी, कितने ही वेजिटेशन, कितने ही हमारी जो जड़ी बूटियां हैं, वो सब नष्ट हो रही हैं। ये भी जलवायु परिवर्तन का कारण है कि बेमौसम जो है वो ये ऐसी जो प्राकृतिक चीजें हैं उनमें बदलाव आ गया है। ये जो बदलाव इन प्रकृति में आ रहा है, मौसम में आ रहा है, उसके कारण कहीं कभी तो बहुत अधिक बाढ़ आ रही है, बिना मौसम के बरसात हो रही है, और कभी महीनों-महीनों कोई बारिश का नाम ही नहीं दिखाई देता। एक और बहुत बड़ा बदलाव जो इस बार देखने को मिल रहा है उत्तराखंड में, वो ये है आम और लीची के फल, जिनमें कहीं बसंत के बाद हमें, बसंत के समय पर हमें बौर दिखाई देता था, ये अभी से जनवरी में ही आना शुरू हो गया है। सूखे और गर्मी की वजह से यहाँ की जो फसल है, गेहूँ की फसल, वो तो बिल्कुल चौपट है, और जो हमारे किसान हैं वो बहुत चिंतित है। सूखे और गर्मी की वजह से। और अगर गेहूं नहीं हुई तो इसका मतलब है कि हमारे अरब जनसंख्या की रोटी पर एक प्रश्न चिन्ह लग रहा है। जो पशु हैं, जंगली जानवर, वो भी अपने आप को इस जलवायु परिवर्तन के कारण बहुत असुरक्षित महसूस कर रही हैं। उत्तराखंड का जो आम और अमरूद है, वो भी अपने समय से पहले हो रहा है। हमारे यहाँ के जो पशु हैं, जंगली पशु जैसे मोर है, हाथी है, ये भी गुनगुनी जलवायु में रहना पसंद करते थे, लेकिन आज ये पहाड़ों के भीतर जाने लगे हैं। 2600 मीटर की ऊंचाई पर हमें सांप मिल रहे हैं। इस सारी जो बदलाव है, इसके लिए एक बहुत बड़ा प्रश्न चिन्ह अभी सभी कंट्रीज के बारे में ग्लोबल लेवल पर है ये, जिसके बारे में अभी मुझसे पहले वक्ताओं ने बताया भी है। लेकिन यहाँ पर जो होना चाहिए बढ़ती हुई गर्मी के लिए, इसके इस हर स्तर पर कार्बन उत्सर्जन कम करने का प्रयास होना चाहिए। लेकिन हमारे यहाँ एयर कंडीशनर की मांग बढ़ रही है। हमें साइकिल्स का प्रयोग करना चाहिए ताकि हम कम इको फ्रेंडली बने। लेकिन हमारे यहाँ सड़कों को चौड़ा किया जा रहा है और उन सड़कों को चौड़ा करने के लिए कितने ही वृक्षों को काटा जा रहा है। बाढ़ तो आनी ही है, जलवायु में परिवर्तन तो हम स्वयं कर रहे हैं। पर्यावरण संरक्षकों को की चिंता ये भी है कि अगर भारत में यूरोप जैसा या हमारे पड़ोसी देश पाकिस्तान जैसी बाढ़ आ जाए तो इससे निपटने के लिए क्या हम तैयार हैं? जलवायु परिवर्तन को हम कैसे रोक सकते हैं? कैसे हम
yes, we should think about it in those terms. Yes.
ये हमें करना क्या होगा?
Yes.
एक्चुअली जो उत्तराखंड की कृषि भूमि है उसे बचाने का हमें प्रयास करना होगा। हमारा जो पड़ोसी राज्य है हिमाचल प्रदेश, उसकी तरह हमें अपने भू कानून को मजबूत बनाना होगा।
Definitely, ma'am. Ma'am, it's not only Uttarakhand. Yeah, we are with the whole world. In fact, the whole India is facing such problem. So it's basically affecting the rural livelihood, ma'am, because Uttarakhand is more is close to the nature, the resources, and when there's a sudden change, you can see the drastic changes, especially observed in because of the Himalayan ranges and all. Definitely, ma'am. It's really lovely talk. I would like to sum up with a small presentation of mine. It's basically already told and explained very by each of you, but we have shortage of time. So, with your due permission, in case I can give just a small, it's a sum up presentation of our topic, what exactly we are dealing with. I just like to put it on the stream.
I will just finish.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
और दूसरी बात मैं ये कहना चाहूंगी कि हमें इस पलायन को रोकना होगा और ये जो हमारी गंगा है, हमारा पानी है, स्वच्छ पानी, जिसके लिए हमारा गंगा मिशन भी शुरू है, राष्ट्रीय स्वच्छ गंगा अमृत महोत्सव के अंडर ये आ रहा है, नमामि गंगे। इस कार्यक्रम में हमें सफाई सतह तक जाना होगा, नदियों की सफाई में, विविधता में, और हमें ज्यादा से ज्यादा करना होगा। और जहां भी प्लास्टिक का कचरा है उसका हम कैसे रोकथाम करें, इस पर हमें विशेष रूप से ध्यान देना होगा। और ये हमें बिल्कुल बच्चों के लेवल तक जाकर कि उन्हें अभी से हम अगर समझाएं कि हमें प्लास्टिक का प्रयोग नहीं करना है और उस प्लास्टिक को कैसे सेव करना है। हम छोटे छोटे बच्चों को बता रहे हैं कि हम प्लास्टिक के छोटे छोटे कचरे को भी प्लास्टिक बॉटल्स में काट कर डालें और फिर उससे हम डिफरेंट तरह की चीजें बना सकते हैं और इस प्लास्टिक को रोक सकते हैं। इसके अलावा पानी का कम से कम प्रयोग करें।
Yes,
हमने बच्चों को
even
सिखाया है कि
Dr. Pandey has also reflected the same thing. We have to keep our rivers and water stream has to be clean, and this affecting all over the world. Yes, ma'am, that's definitely true, ma'am. And yes, ma'am.
ये हमें शुरू से करना होगा और जागरूकता सबसे बड़ी जरूरी है कि गांव में, विशेषकर उत्तराखंड में जहां पर शिक्षा का भी अभाव है, जागरूकता बहुत जरूरी है। हम छोटे लेवल से शुरू करें और ये जागरूकता घर घर तक पहुंचाएं, जन जन तक पहुंचाएं कि हमें कैसे अपनी धरती को बचाना है, पानी को बचाना है, कैसे हमें स्वच्छता रखनी है और कितना हमें पौधारोपण अधिक से अधिक करना होगा. With this, I just want to
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
stop.
Thank you
Thank
so much, ma'am. I'm so sorry, but then we have a little bit of shortage of time and crunch. So, the
No
presentation is
problem.
already done by our seniors. They've explained everything so vividly. But I just want to have a touch up and we can finish on this one. It's a climate changes and the impact on rural livelihood. Basically, it's just not the rural; it's the all over the world we are facing. It's a biodiversity changes. It's an effect which is which is affecting the whole biodiversity, including the plants, animals, everyone. So it's just not a concept of climate change. I just like to put it on the full screen, ma'am. It's all like been explained by all of you. I'm just brushing up. As a climate change refers to the long-term shift in temperature we already discussed because of global warming. We are facing many problems, and this is basically because of the sun's heat which is trapped, and there's a blanket of formed around the earth which is not letting the poisonous gases to move out. So this giving rise to rise in temperatures already been explained by scholars like Dr. Pandey, Dr. Pandav, and of course Dr. Samantha and ma'am. So these are little bit, I'm just touching up, and finally we are concluding the presentation. And the consequences of the climate change, I put in little bit of picture so that it becomes very easy to explain. We have intense drought, we have water scarcity, severe fires. Suddenly we have fires. You can see the glaciers, the polar bear standing alone on a piece of rock, and flood, melting polar ice, unexpected storms, and declining biodiversity. It's just a human beings are facing. It's all whole the diversity is facing. The biodiversity means the biological world. Everyone is facing the problem, and in case we don't check into it, we all will land up into drastic. We are going to face drastic problem, which will not only affect us, but it will definitely affect our future generation. So the climate change can affect our health, ability to grow food, housing, safety, and work. This all been explained by my seniors. I don't need to go much into detail, but just a small picture so that it becomes more clear to us. You can see the picture of sudden storms. As you said, ma'am, we in Uttarakhand, we are expecting, and Joshimat, we see the sudden, the climatic changes. It's because the Himalayan ranges are getting affected, the water bodies, the sea body, the water body, everything is rising. You see the unexpected fires also. Suddenly you have fires in the jungle. And they are more affecting the livelihood of the rural people because the rural people are more close to the nature. They are more accessing the resources. As you can see, the biodiversity pattern across the globe, it's not only affecting the human beings, it is affecting the organism, terrestrial, marine, and aquatic, even the fishes, even the water people, even the, you can say, the snakes, anyone on the land. They also express, only the thing is they cannot express out their views. So the biodiversity includes extinction of many species. In a small time, when I was a child, I could see many different birds like flying, but now I don't see those. So this is because many species are getting extinct, severe habitat loss of species. Some of the birds or some of many of the species are moving out from their own places. There are collapses of the marine and freshwater fisheries, land degradation, as you said, sudden flood, tsunami, all these are effect of the global warming, which humans are creating, and we are, facing the side effects also. So you can say the effects of pollution, droughts, unexpected storms, extreme wildfires. Suddenly we see all these things. It's definitely the human beings which we are created, and we are we are getting those effects, and definitely our future generation is going to face more because of this. Now, since the climate change intends on natural resources, economic activities, food security, and health and quality of life, as I told you, the first impact is on the rural people because they are very close to nature. On an other hand, the urban people have more access, what they can have a different sort of, accessibility to the conditions. But the rural people, they suddenly access, they face this situations because they are more close to nature. So in see in the picture, you can see there are droughts, and they're using the trees to move from one place to another. Then they are migrating to a suitable place in a family for having a sustainable society for safeguarding rural livelihood. So as it is, India is a land of agriculture, as you said, as the many people explained before. We are agriculturists, definitely, but a person who is living as agriculture and moving from one place to the other will definitely be a bonded laborer. So all these things are faced because of the global warming, because of the changes, and how it is affecting more on the rural livelihood. Industries, on the other part, we have seen the industries are getting established in rural areas where the lands of the rural people are definitely they're taken away, they're taken as a bonded laborers, and then there are no other ways the villagers are forced to move to other places. This is also in some places, in the rural places which are close to the sea land, or you can say land or something, sea bodies. They can see the sudden rise in the sea level. They can also cause for tsunami and all these things. So these all are the issues which have already been discussed, and definitely because of the global warming, because of the poisonous gas emitted, and this is all done by the humans, and we are facing it, and definitely it will be a drastic, the future generation is going to face it drastically. Here, I've again said, we've given a picture of IPCC, that is Intergovernmental Portal Panel of Climatic Change, which says that the impact of the rising temperature and global warming disproportionately affect the weaker and the vulnerable population of the society, where you can see a farmer is trying to plow his field where there is scarcity of water. On the other hand, there are the ladies, as Dr. Samantha has already said, they are more vulnerable to this climatic change. They are facing and they are moving from one place to another when there is heavy rainfall. So these are nothing but the effect of the global warming, which the climatic changes and the global warming, which is affecting the rural India. Again, we have pictures I have depicted. There is drought. There are some crops grown, and and one place there are flood and just one tree standing up. So with high temperatures, health disorders are also observed. Definitely, when there is a problem, all over, when you have a less accessibility to food, the food insecurity, everything is there. Definitely, we have less access to the healthcare systems also, where we see malnutrition and vector-borne disease cropping, and this leads to complexities and more diseases in the rural livelihood as compared to the urban people. Now, definitely, we are just not going like this. The initiatives are taken a lot by the government. We are going slow, as Dr. Pandey he explained us, and definitely many of the NGOs and trusts are taking full cooperation to affect and affect the lives of the rural livelihood. I can say the government of India has promoted participatory watershed development all over the places wherever it can facilitate for protecting the rural people from restore barren land, agriculture production, and improve livelihoods. At the same time, there's a watershed organization called as WOTR, especially found in Maharashtra. Is one of the organizations that's exploring ways to safeguard livelihood. They constructed dams and all. These are the pictures which I've shown, and this is actually one way they are trying to safeguard the interest of the rural livelihood. We also have National Solar Mission, which is done again by the Government of India, where we are trying to trap the solar energy and promote solar energy power in India. We have National Mission on Sustainable Habitat. This predominantly concentrates on how cities can cope up with the new challenges when there's drastic climatic change, both for rural and urban. As ma'am said, we are facing a lot of problem in Uttarakhand. Definitely, we have for that a national mission for sustaining the Himalayan ecosystem. It is going slow, but definitely it will come up with many, possibilities. The most crucial and primary objective of the mission is to develop a sustainable health across the Himalayan ecosystem, where the Himalaya is seeing sudden changes and which is affecting those nearby areas. So these are the missions which are taken up by the government, which are definitely going to be fruitful in future. We have National Water Mission. The main objective is to save, as Dr. Pandey said, we have to save and conserve our water distribution. You can say, yeah, even Dr. Pandav has pointed out this point. The drinking water, safe water, has to be, used very cleverly, and we should not, go into more what you say wastage of this water. We have National Mission for Sustainable Agriculture also. So all this we are trying to do is, I mean, the government is trying to do for improving the rural livelihood. we are seeking to address to regarding to sustainable agriculture in the context of risks associated with climate change by suggestive adaptations. So I can conclude this presentation by saying the government and the NGO are taking active participation to initiate the educated people in agriculture, doctors, teachers, vocational trainers, and agriculturists to pay visit to this rural areas. Definitely, it's a plea so that they can, give some advice on this. They can regularly keep a check, and they can, program. They can, facilitate many programs, camps, etc., for the younger generation, and this can definitely enhance the agricultural part. They can definitely help the rural livelihood to have a sustainable development, and I think this is how we can think for a better future for a rural livelihood. Um, any other points,
Okay,
sir, we like to discuss on it?
okay, good.
Yes, sir.
You have made a good presentation and
Yes, sir.
concluded the whole
Yes, sir.
scenario in a perfect
Definitely, sir.
manner.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Uh, there were two observations when Dr.
Definitely, sir.
Pandey was making his
Yes,
presentation. One of them
definitely, sir.
was that whether the number of cars increasing in urban area is making some impact on the climate of the rural India. The second question was, this was the first observation, and the second observation was about the lifestyle of rural India and the lifestyle of urban India. So, how much the lifestyle of urban India is responsible for impacting on the rural livelihood programs under the global climate change. So these are the two observations because Dr. A.K. Pandey was making his presentation at that time. I believe that these were raised from his uh, presentation. If you are willing to respond to these two observations, these observations are from our viewers. If you are willing to, then uh, we can do. If you are willing to respond, then it's okay. Otherwise, I will respond to these two observations.
Professor Narayan,
Yes. Should I
should
repeat that?
am I
Yes,
expected?
yes, you are expected to respond to those observations.
Oh, actually, number of cars is only one issue.
Hmm.
Uh, there is a view that all the urban population depends for food on the villager, and in response gives advice, protection, education, all these things.
Hmm.
But really speaking, certain sectors of urban population are wasting like anything the resources. The water which a rural man brings all the family needs to drink, that quality of water is wasted at least 100 times in a urban household. Similarly, transportation by car itself is very wasteful.
Hmm.
So, you take lot of road, you take lot of energy. Earlier in the world, 1 horsepower meant 1 horse, which you is needed to transport a person from point A to B. Now the cars use 80 horsepower, 100 horsepower, just for a person to transfer from point A to B. So most of the pressure on environment is this wasteful expenditure of in urban sites, and there are views, very extreme views, that the urban population has become parasite on the productive thing. But somehow, at name of administration, at name of other things, they are able to justify it. So the what I understood about cars, that can be extended on so many things. Somehow, second point I have missed. So if you just point out, I can add it.
The second point which he has raised, you have already covered. That was about
Oh,
the car. That
car.
the car, that how the urban people are using, the number of cars are increasing day by day in urban center and which has a impact on the rural livelihood
Right,
because of
right.
and the climate change. That's what he was saying. So
Hmm.
thank you very much for responding to these. And there is one more observations that is for Professor Samanta. That is, he has talked about the climate change in terms of uh, population and in terms of female. So they want to know that that is the gender classification or gender impact. So they so viewer, one of the viewer or the group of viewers, they want to know that how could you say that the female are more they have more impact of climate change than on their livelihood in rural India than in urban India, because it is the recent what they are saying. What the question is that in this COVID-19, the employment of in urban India has gone, and it is the rural India which has given uh, sustainable livelihood during that period, irrespective of male or female. They have given to all the people. So, considering such a scenario that has been also caused by the climate change, how we can say that it is the women who is more affected.
Oh, that is you. What I can
That
say
is
about.
for Dr. Samanta. That is for
Hmm.
Dr.
Oh,
Professor
okay.
Samanta.
Sir, this is not from my side. That there's a research paper published 2 3 days
Hmm,
back, actually, which talks about that uh, the women are more vulnerable in
hmm,
context of climate change. Okay,
hmm,
so I just put forward that particular findings in this
hmm.
forum.
Okay,
So I
okay.
got the chance
No,
to
it's
put
good.
forward this
It's
particular
good.
findings. So
It's good.
very,
So far,
very just published 2 3 days back. It has not yet come to full paper has not yet come. Just a very recent publication.
hmm. Uh, how to mobilize the rural youth in rural India? How to mobilize the youth of India for rural sustainable activities, and how mobilize how this mobile will be helpful in that. These are the observations for you.
So anyone comfortable can speak on this? How to mobilize urban
If
India,
you,
youth in rural?
okay,
Yes, sir.
okay, now I no problem. I will respond to it. You see, the question is
Definitely, sir.
that if the youths, they are more vulnerable, as suggested and found by Professor Professor Samanta. Uh, the youth are equally vulnerable and they are equally responsible. Rather, we consider them as a change agent for the global sustainable development. They are youth. There are few studies also that has been carried on the role of youth in sustainable development and attaining the goal of the sustainable global development. So those studies suggest that youths are very vulnerable and they are very important agent of social change for bringing sustainable development. That cannot happen unless we involve the youth. Whatsoever programs are there in rural India, there the role of youth is very, very minimum. Most of the program, most popular program, that is MGNREGA, the REGA program, there whether it is female or the male or the youth, they all are taken together. So there is no specific program for youth in rural India. That's a very valid point, and I think that we should advocate for that. Our this is our old system that whenever we do a webinar, we interact with the government, concerned ministry, concerned departments on this issue. So this is a very important question. All the questions that have been raised by the viewers today are very important. So we will
Yes,
discuss
sir.
it with the concerned ministry and the
Definitely,
concerned
sir.
department. If you find that there is any other such questions, you can Professor Samanta or Dr. Pandey may forward it to us so that we can take those questions also in order to get it incorporated in the policy for and programs for rural India. So thank you very much to all the participants
Thank you, sir.
uh,
Yes, sir.
and especially to Dr. A.K. Pandey and to Dr. Samanta, Professor Samanta. And we expect that in future also in such programs we will get your support because we are working with the Gandhian vision for the development of the people of India because that is the most suitable approach for the development of the people. Gandhi's vision, if we do not consider Gandhi's vision, then there will be a lot of conflict and tension in society that we do not want. We want peaceful development. So thank you very much to all of
Thank you,
you.
sir. Thank you so much, sir. I
Uh,
think it was a vibrant webinar today, sir, because we have exceeded more the time we need. But I can see the viewers' comments; they're really lovely, and they're thanking us for our, and they have really joined, especially the people on the YouTube and who are,
mm,
observing us live. It was a lovely discussion from all of us. All of us had different views of the climate change and its impact on rural livelihood. Definitely, we started with Dr. Narayan, who explained us about the Gandhian concept. Dr. Pandav, he gave us the three type basic strategy, what is climate change, rural livelihood, and suggestion, definitely his views all over the world. Dr. A.K. Pandey scrutinized us with what do you understand by the rural and urban development, what can we do, what the government is doing, and how we can improve further. Dr. Samantha, he explained us new topic and what is net zero target, sir. We were not aware of it. Thank you so much, and its impact on climate change. Vima ma'am, she gave a vivid, study of Uttarakhand, how it has affected, and definitely what are the insights which we may not know from being an outsider. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. And we also conclude with all of you. It was a lovely session, and good evening to all of you. Thank you so much.
thank you very much. Namaste.
Thank you.
Yes.